세주시는 자 수수랑고 배가지 인거 말했어. 대인자네 라마 자침지. 대 라마 자침부 줘야 돼야. 아니 동아 무슨 아니 주 첸데니 민데니 오늘 전에 스미 정리 가져 정신이니 이게 가져다 님바데 간데지네 때 친이 된지지 랑도이니 참말로 아니 때 친이 코란 냠뉴유지다 라마즈데 체네 아니 장기 시럽해주당 아 시럽해주당네 아니 동행조에디 아니 타이바지레도 와서 타이바 아니 대제 인자네 아니 동행 자과 동행 참모 아니 심조에디 니수간에 할리비 자친보다는 띵서버려도 왔어 아니 동행지 박샤지다 매바디 간지스 지고면디 아니 퇴성 냠내시에디 계시문이 말았어
So then, if for that particular purpose we initially have to depend upon teachers, or fully qualified teachers like different lamas, then we will be able to understand the nature of the mind, so to say, and we also learn how to abandon that what is to be abandoned and put into practice of that what has to be practiced. Then by the power, that's the power of the teachings, then from the power of your own wisdom, basically by analyzing these points again and again, although there are limitless forms of suffering, by the different levels of suffering, it's more coarser forms of suffering, more subtle forms of suffering, which the mind, who possesses these aspects of wisdom as well as the innate nature, you actually be able to eliminate those types of suffering. And then you see that the mind is actually extremely precious.
개츠노지 domba juwa zamji 아니 rat chungwa zamji 아니 지금 몸에 지야담 심랑진 것도 주투 말했어 그 개츠노 domba 예네 아니 비지 라바 숨이지 냠내 야고 마치 와이나 베달에 가고 왔어 리고 개츠노 domba 당고 주드네 지den기 아니 카르다 너무 먹을 양도라 만져야지 디기 탑시 먹지 까고 치
So then the Buddha also, the Buddha himself, by just merely renouncing the world, that was not enough for enlightenment. So also the Buddha in different stages has trained in what it says the 3 higher trainings. So that also has to be put into practice. You need the 3 higher trainings. Then if you put it into practice in this way, then you will be able to achieve all those goals I was just talking about.
아니 라마 냠뇽지 야고 지다 체와이나 아니 소소 컴드네바 아니 칼레 추송네 소소 냠네체 아니 동고 퇴베체 되니 삼중 관이 되니 공중 칼레갈스 아니 똑같이 아니 람 어머니 가마 대가라 아니 지 가져리다 고 자신 쉬우증은 난고도 왔어.
So then we depend upon the correct teachers, and then by that depends, of course. You have a particular relation with a particular teacher by depending on your interest or different aspirations. That can be play an important role. Then receiving those teachings, then practice in hearing and study, as well as contemplation and meditation. And then in meditation, you will progress on the paths to enlightenment. So then the nature of the mind is extremely subtle, so the coarse forms of mind, like the afflictions, if they are manifest, then it's very difficult to recognize the nature of the mind. So then by the power of practice again and again, study well, then slowly you will be able to recognize the nature of the mind. Then? Any other questions? In the back.
Can you talk a little bit about how you manage not to feel aversion when you witness suffering and injustice?
So, dunia da kanga nyongyendu da chedan da konosa ni da mamchu jungyores di nyembo so ka tengeres.
Ji tate kiseji dinbras 동행 용량기 싸위지 동행 가르치 치와 있는데 심지 지단지가 하는 노래스 지단지기 초네 미지를 자르셔와 있나 지단지기 초네 미디 고 간지되는 나고 나자 통한다 독자 쉬우 통그레스 지단지기 초네 아니 탑제 용네 아니 진인지 공연 저바치 거야다 안데 심지당 소에디 시럽 표주동 마동지가 라는데스.
So then, basically, yeah, if you experience a type of suffering or a particular situation or a particular person and you focus upon that situation or person with aversion, yeah, or anger, then basically you see that situation or that person as dark or as bad, yeah. So that is actually a kind of dualistic state of mind. If you use wisdom in a correct way, then you might see other aspects of that object, and also with minds of compassion, you might see a total different side of the object who you saw before as very negative.
그래지나 맞음이 마치야라 다지 촉바즈를 찍는 주대들에서 그래서나 야면은 진상 촉바 야면은 지수 촉바 하르지는 내대그래서 딘자니 강이 치용도 니리 초와 강이 가르지 치용나 강이 딜라 나사 셰다 만나지 나사 고좀 라와이나 딜라 준 가르지 고로 라와이나 안 수수게 남주르 냠바 치 냠바 디파사 랑마지 제마지 도자주셔레스.
So if we follow, basically, we all live with other people together. Yeah, we live in the communities. We live we work in an organization. Yeah, so we always with people around us. So then, if we meet people we dislike or circumstances we dislike, and directly we react with aversion and anger, then of course it creates a lot of problems. It creates problems for ourselves. Yeah, the mind becomes unhappy. We lose our peace of mind. We lose our relationship with a particular person. And maybe the job doesn't get done as it should be done. So there are a lot of negative side effects, so to say, or the faults of anger. So if you use wisdom in the other way, then of course you can solve the problems.
아니, 저것들라 탁주 멤버스니 아니 소소 누나만 볼라줘야 아니 소소 지 카르르다 미즈나나 소소 개장저라 아니 개장 가와줘와이나 아니 고쌤디 시간이 쌤데와 인자네 소소 치고 되와이나 가디나 시당한데니 마지베 용데니 두와스 인자네 시당저이디 아니 지고 야보메베 좀된디 시보도와스.
So then this kind of aversion, yeah, you see in our human life, yeah, we spoil relationships, and it's very difficult for us to keep our peace of mind, also when we are by ourselves, and we generate a kind of anger or aversion, then still we lose the peace of mind. So that's very important points to analyze correctly.
다 시당 라에 줄레인데 남상 시당 만나와치 슬라나 소소 챙기리데 만나와 용거 말와스 이나야 만나 탑시 가려르세나 다 제지시오레스 시당 라기랑 쭉 가르질 시당 라기도 제 가르질 라기도 디소소 제지시오레스 렌디 제지시에나 찍시에나 제 충충제가 소소게 남도 챈마와즈 조다네 시당 라도레스 찍치나 그때 제 가야 매발라 소소 남도 다네 다 조다네 소소 시당 제대 드리오레스 찍시나양 소소소라 덴바윤조 옌라 덴바윤조 이나야 덴바니디 찍찍라니 찍야고 찍다 맞춘 안 찍찍라 근진 제거샤네 데제니 지차거레스 데 인자네 야고 찍시 아니 딘디시 마치가 용도 되나라 안 소소 양자 상님 버스다네 내가 탑시 가르치고도와 랑당 예닝게 마치가 요디 동해인을 하고 그랬어 랑지부 동해 자야 마인바 옌데야 자야 탑시 치고 그랬어 옌데 탑시 될라바이나 랑기 동해 단다 시당나 돼야 돼 옌데 탑시 뒤 로드 레와 타가랑 랑기 아니 시당나 돼야 돼 다른 좀 그랬어 대 인자네 아니 제벨로 나야당 뉴벨로 나야당 장벨로 나야당 세바이로 나야당 아니 세바 지와이나 캡산 카레 네가 세바 지와이나 후 가즈자 소소라 쌤자고 간지스 용도 쌤데 공지야고 간지테이도 진 도자즈를 채와이나 미나양디 삼노 동주지 안에 근데 지 마음발을 소소 미상고 야지 간지스 도도 배야고.
So then it's important to examine these points well, yeah. So what are actually the causes and conditions for aversion and anger to arise, and how strong does it arise? Sometimes even a small minimum condition is needed for very strong aversion, yeah. So that is then the mind over-imputes the different faults of its object, and then very strong aversion or anger can arise. So then one should reflect upon how it arises. Then also one should see the different faults, what anger does to self and others. And by seeing this and then reflecting upon that we all strive for happiness and don't want suffering, one should try to change one's behavior. And by doing this in this way, then it will be possible to use the different antidotes, like being honest and practicing patience. And then if you practice those kind of antidotes towards aversion and dealing with difficult situations, then you will see the benefits of those positive state of minds will bring more peace of mind for self and others.
다 저저 준도네 아니 남자 준도 소소기 니를 좋아하나 아니 장시 차워서 줘 말이스 장시 차워서 지와이나 아니 소소는 연대 매나 연대 여전히 뼈발래야 당 짐발래야 당 차발래야 당 거른이나 뭐지 장시디 줘레스 아니 예 연대 통고 말이 랑주 통고 말이 디 마치와이나 야진 줘야잖아요 말이스.
So then, as long as we still have the kind of self-cherishing attitude, then by the power of that we will only see the qualities of ourselves, we will never see the faults. And we generate more attachments to oneself, and we won't be able to see the qualities of others, we only will see the faults of others. So that's also a thing to think about and to try to change.
베르즈는 소소를 쥐면가 까까잖지나 나고 자차 동자는 로와이나 까까잖라는 나고 짠이 뭐야 이 말이었어. 소소를 쥐면가 인자네 디니 강이들레인 거리스. 소소 쥐면가 까워지나 아니 강이 간지즈는이나 동자지기 창지송이나 아니 심마지가 용고되면도 왔어. 디 인자네 디 모시고레스. 소소 쌤데 소소 쥐면 통화이나 아니 소소 강이 좋는데 소소 쌤이 임바디 세우시라레스 디 짐바드레스 디 트바드레스.
So then also one should focus upon oneself, and change that attitude, because it's not that black and white, so to say, that it's either totally black or totally white. Objects are not like that. So if you don't have any faults, if you really analyze yourself and you are puffed up and you think you only have qualities and no faults, then why are you still suffering? That's a question you can ask yourself. So actually that's also a fault, to have suffering, and that's also created by a particular mindset, and that is also created with a fault. So it's important to do this kind of self-examination.
또가 소지에는 소소기 준 소소 통에 디 칼레칼레칼레 매바지 탑시선 되니 찐 도자 체와이나 아니 바산다 인제 산다야 집에 산다야 아니 지 서바 산다야 잘라 마부지 탑시 되지 하고와이나 아니 오늘 소소스미 야진 로부양 부차그레스.
So then it's important to generate those good qualities of mind, like try to benefit others, or the wish to benefit others, practicing patience, practicing compassion. With those states of mind, then even though you might meet difficult situations, then you will be able to handle it very well and keep your peace of mind. And if you generate these good qualities of mind, like patience and compassion, etc., then your qualities will only increase.
지기 따지 마시바 지든지 로데와이나 아니 수수수 손놈이라고 사투고 말해 아니 지 간다 제가 치마 켈렌도 말레로 단다 기지기지 집에 다니는지래 아니 신이 추마도 편나도 와데 노인이시들이 레 준제저디 소순 내가 여롱 외롱 루바메 말이 산 루고 말이 나양 보고요 말이 내 인자는 소소 룡아 예수의 자화상고 시와이나 내 장보미야 지우장보용이야 서로와 대화용이야 룡아 예수인데 자화 멤버 주보 독자 미기 주위랑 인지 제와이나 되니 내 님에 콜바 님에 아니 가져로다지 서로와 님에 서로와 두가 장장 아니 마지와 대바 토도 마게 아니 미대바 토도 용와 가리난 고tra 마시와 장장지 용되기로스.
So then, in this way, if you just think, okay, everything is fine, no worries, that's also not the correct attitude, Because also, if you just think in that way, then you will not be able to generate those good qualities. You will not be able to generate merit, for example, and just put aside the existence of reincarnation or the existence of karma or not, or the Buddha Dharma. So also this form or this attitude of just don't caring, not really caring about different things, is also not the correct behavior. Because if you practice well with your activities of body, speech and mind, then also the results will be positive. And then also you will experience more and more happiness for self and others. If your activities of body, speech and mind are incorrect or bad, so to say, then it only will create different sufferings, different feelings of suffering, and it can create different problems in your relation with others as well.
소소소 랑주르다 소소 정보 가르치 제게면 소소 미지 가르치 제기도 미유 가르치도 아니지 젠벤 가르치기도 아니 소소 산노 짠짠 돈데나 아니 디지 전문 가르치라기도 제나 산노 다네 자친구도 산노 다네 자와치와이나 수부디 표시 다와이나 아니 가족 캡산도 가족 편도도 디즈디 마모지 잭치네 딱시치네 So
then it's very important to examine your own continuum, to see what's going on in your own mind, and then try to generate those good states of mind, like try to bring harmony, generate kind of honesty, and try to benefit others. So those mindsets you should analyze. What kind of results do they bring? And then if you're very narrow-minded and creates a lot of faults and mistaken kind of forms of consciousness, and also creates a lot of problems for selves and others. So it's extremely important to really examine well your own continuum of consciousness in this way.
남의 취업자에 되게 오늘 전에 내가 타도 자와 가르치 있나라 편도지야 표시해야 되는 거스. but 소소 내가 가르치 있나라 있나 셈성부지야 편대지야 저 가와있는 표시도 된다 거스. 랑이 침장 보고 아니지 소파 종아에 있는 자 가르치와 있는 소소 강이 리 가르치를 있나 안디 동네 지다 디 탑시지다 디 매바치다지 자주 약수 매수들이 도와서 남부지역 거랑 하마고지 아니 남부지역에서다 처음에 저지 소소 레님부 매워다 집을 매워서지 소소체 아니 디 마중리 아처면도 유샤 나 제가 medulana 소소송 거버로 왔어 그래서디 그지 맞지 추뇨 라야 저와 뇽바 라야 지도 타니다야 뇽바라 응아마제 라고 제치고만도 미징한 응아마라고 제봐야면도 뇽바 라야디 심춘 마리과 뭐 뉴스기 아니 지금 게되니 랑신 상마 동에 체되니 로질라 잡주엔 아니 나와 항상 미세 처음에 좀 장제지 아니 마음발 주남상마다 텐조 류저데 니가와 퇴치와 한지도 상도 당와이나 랑이 뒤라 치다 심일지 주냐니 코아셈제리 나셈제리 코 가르치 중래 나 가르치 중래 아니 랑게 미지 텐조 밀려줘야 돼 류디 안에 그 남주다 랑이 남주 표시 동당 제발 같이도 와 대화 주야지 남주 표시 도야라 제발 쉬어 용기도 와 디저디 주미 제메 용기 말이 직전 견디는 용기면도 왔어 딘딘 탑시상로 당와이나 되니 텐조 니가 와이나 텐체와 와이나 야고 시와이나 도자 시와이나 깨와는 동네 나줘야 되지 영화 이순디 제기도 야고 시와이나 세지 류지가 상지야지 류딘 디딩 지게로 싫어 표시 짜치무지가 또 와이나 깨와 마마는 배도 다 디파 제가 가져서 싸우는 동네 탐해봐 영야지 주소 마부주여 와이나 류딘 디딩네 아니 제 양타봐 마부지 제다 하다 저 마부지 짜치우지 채와이나 남주 표시 똑시와이나 3월로 내가 저 두기도 와 대양 거 저거 마치와이나 아니 지글라 재미다 버리도 시도야다 참미시기래 나야 메다바 시야 디 젠신에 자상부 두고야 되는 거를 마도 그 메다바 공부리스 라와이나 공부해야 막고 용야 임버로 공부 말고 예요 공야 디펜도데 가르치에서나 랑 네세데라 진벤치야 소놈사야 랑 대화 인자 대외주 안 공부했다요 디 저거치야 디 저거 마시와이나 그 지도 인자 안 디삼당 거지도 와 재미다 다 재미다 디 니중간에 렌제도 선노 마다나 코르바 니믹 줘야 돼 코르바 로아리 쭉 줘야 돼 여매 수수기 한다 Ngunzin Cherong, Machirong, Beretana, Pamajilla, Pugu, Jegus Jevaina, Pugu, Rito Kaga, Shin Kaga, and Samno Kaga, Lobjon Kaga, Debakaga, and the Jim is in on a Sohakaga Yungudoas. Di Jungamaji, James in Yungurmado, Pami Kura and the Zangechi Yunjumare, Shabati Dine, Ju Chikitin, Nami Junjezi Mani, Chungdevatras. Di Roger to chicken, sometimes to do us. Kato, you need to chick or in that chicken to do us. They mind by Tonsala, Tundra, Lingu, they want to do Mari, they were so damn carriage. Me that Tundra Barra, the two Chivaina. Di Jimmy Chumar, you didn't get the Chumar. Di Nisunganiago, Giamji Nisu, Kato, Legend being with us. They is an legend sometimes. Korean Nimik sometimes. Tarva pairs on the time. Then she needed to the down, Dembaina, and Susula, Captain Karim, Martin and Nimikazi. And the Tarvazoeti, Kandritu Tarva Lagori. Sending Jiba and Tawi, Tajatilla, Tarvasoma Inza, Simping Zoet, Simzoet, Kandrizi. Did Nandan Kaju, you mean? The Kandis Punch of Kandrizi in Yabotango. Nobody. YouTube in Yamadaina, Sunny Gumara. Whereas another shoes to the Vena, Togo shoes to the Vena, Lamachi Kunjuchi, so Minam Jardina, Togo Jagmara, Kalach Sagudo. Dinner did you choose on? Dinaji, Pancha Harina, Niamba Kora, the Tubatic Chigodo. Then in the name, was a bit one, Jig, one Nakaoji, some day Jig shared the one said Hadizilongo. Karish. No is one was a juju condescending. Tame be Naji de Tabak Tabukusun to Khadro-la, Tinditi, Nuya Chiala, Meva Chial Chedankari. Savi Jikari. Rangjung Kari. Nika Courage. Sama Nola, tended to do Namja to Chingo. Did China? One such a bush chazara.
So we actually have that kind of examining things well, because if you don't use that wisdom, then it can happen that you enter into the Dharma, the Buddhist Dharma. You start to study it for a short period of time, a little bit, maybe a few years. Then you say, oh, I didn't get any realizations right now, and then you might have on a certain period of time even dislike the Dharma, and then have negative thoughts against it. So that's a sign that you didn't really understood the Dharma properly. So that's why it's very important to get a good understanding of the Dharma, and then think what kind of benefits it will bring you on a temporary and an ultimate level. Yeah, so that is very important. In a similar way, then also you know how to deal with different situations. Yeah, if it's in your family or in an organization or dealing with children, then actually by knowing the correct Dharma, you also will know how to react in those circumstances. By not knowing these points, then actually life can actually be more or less essenceless, without any essence. So, and if you really abandon the Dharma in this way after having just looked at it for a short period of time, then it's actually just basically confusing yourself. And confusing yourself, and in a certain way, is also kind of a stupid, or there's an example of becoming mad, even be mentioned, because it's like the tool that actually eliminates ignorance, and that's why we all strive for the Course, for all the sufferings to come about. So then, having received now the precious human rebirth, then by having received this precious human rebirth, we should also use it and put it into practice. As a human rebirth, we have human intelligence, yeah? And with this human intelligence, we can strive for methods to accomplish the wish for happiness, and methods in order to abandon the causes for suffering. So that's an extremely precious and rare opportunity we have found. And if we don't use it in the proper way, then every action of body, speech and mind will only create more causes for samsara, and we only wander around in samsara again and again. So that's why it's important to use this kind of wisdom, and by having found this precious human rebirths, and because it's now also time to put it into practice. We all know death and impermanence exists, yeah? Death will come one day, so we have to reflect upon death and impermanence as well. Why do we meditate on death and impermanence? In order to put efforts in our daily practice, in order to generate those good qualities of mind. Yeah, if we don't know that is the reason for meditating on death and impermanence, then just merely meditating on death and impermanence will not be of any use. Yeah, so it will come anyway. Yeah, death will come anyway, so you don't have to meditate upon it. But if you use it for the purpose of generating good qualities of mind, to put effort for yourself in that direction, of course, that is the reason why we meditate on death and impermanence. So then, then we also, after having meditated on death and impermanence, we should reflect upon the suffering of samsara and the different faults of samsara, and then how the different beings are, the transmigratory beings are being born in the different cycles of rebirth. Then reincarnation can be a question. Yeah. So to take an example, two children of one parent or one mother, the different children can have different aspirations or different levels of intelligence or different forms of aspiration to engage in a particular study or practice. So that's also a sign that it didn't come directly, because the two children are totally different in their behavior and attitudes, that it didn't come from the sperm and the ovum of the mother. Yeah, it came from a previous rebirth. In a similar way, also animals, we see in the animal realm, yeah, the animals also strive for happiness and don't like suffering, but they don't have the methods, they don't know how to create the right causes for those attainments in life. So having meditated upon the suffering in this way, then also it's important to also reflect upon karma, and again, as we mentioned, the faults of samsara, and also liberation. You should know what is liberation. And then by depending, of course, on guru devotion, yeah, the first subject of the stage of the path to enlightenment, one should practice in this kind of sequence, with this kind of aspects. And then if one strives for liberation, then it's also important to know what has to be abandoned. What is the nature of the mind? Can I abandon those points with my mental development? So, and then by reflecting upon in this way, then it will be of great benefit. Yeah, if you have an empty stomach and you're very hungry, just murmuring the prayer Lama Kien Kunchuk Sum, and you pray to the 3 jewels, then that will not give you any food. Yeah, so you have to put things into practice. You have to create the right causes for things to come about, as been just explained. Because if you just merely go to receive initiations without really knowing what the initiation is all about, then there is not much benefits. Yeah? So the initiation is in order to transform body, speech and mind, and to actually stop ordinary appearance, and also teach you how to stop this ordinary appearance from the point of view of the basis, the nature, and temporarily and ultimate results. So then, by having reflected upon these points, and by depending on this precious human rebirth, having met these kind of teachings, and be able to put them into practice with human intelligence, it is extremely precious if you be able to do that.
chanju ki sem jewa na yena teni yungudu. Ani susu kawa jewa lewa ina, chachu kandatsi shiwa ina susu lunga yisumla. Sorba dewa yungji ji, zaten tsangma lo yena teni yungudu. Ta yena teni samno zi tangwa ina, na yena teni tang samno tangya yi samno lo jangdang di, ma shi chenji, da shi nyamji, ani tenzu shi kandatsi sungudu. rangi semli kandatsi luidisha. 하유 애니마 탑시 되는데디 가와즈를 샤샤 수수 섬단 딜 좀젠도 같은 것도 랑즈는 지리젠도 타이버리 타이비 자와 지와이나 랑 대지저에 절로 유면디 통슈 좀젠 친구다 내 친와이나 아니 만난가더냐 semjen 탐지 된다리 지지지 된다니 된다니 섬데 자친구 동에 라야디 자친구 조당 되는 시에고도 당보 디 시와이나 아니 소소 있으면 랑지지 나랑 저야 돼 대로 따와 양타바 지기 잡대 요이나 나 저야 돼 취줘야 돼 카드지 이와이나 랑은 주가 들점지 매 요말에 랑은 주가 들점 매 진들라 랑기 차고다 지와다 당와치야디 하장 놀리신 거 쉬우래 전 수수수라 수수수기 갱갱 제거로 네 지와이나 수수 되지 수수 초두도 네가 되지 타두기 되지 아 타르바다 탐지 침버져 칸디스 람 칸디스를 땡고도 쭉 칸디스 튕고도 랑이 셈이 한다 짐바 가래샤 마음 비미 가서도 마음 봐줘야 돼 칸디스를 징기도 안나니 마튠바지 셈지 로아지 줄라 지 냐나 저거 냐데디 쭉 칸디스 사시 진 칸디레샤 랑데디 용지바 용 임베즈 레도 레미도 랑 가와줘비레샤 랑조에 셈조에디 랑조에 파데와이나 나조에 샤르두시 풍부데 간일레샤 쭉 가르치니레샤 젠 가르친 처리시 가르치 지그루 나조에야지 서로와 땡데 디가라 랑진디 가래샤 대화 존예 대화 뇌니 대화 존예 대화 친예 상말로 랑이 셈나 투와 인자니 셈딘 진당 용게 가래샤 대라 주젠 툭네 가르치 주바 테루 그래서 상대요 땅와이나 되네 소소 따다지 유튜브지 자와지와이나 제우야 보정으로 야데서 데레샤 레샤스 유자와이나 야 가게요 말어 그래서 나가서 암지케바지기 아주 나서 데레샤 메데 자고도 나서 데레샤스네 초스 제와이나 소소 메데 마사나 네 자고 말어 데나진지 추야부지 시와이나 소소 줄을 당니 나서 검지 마데와이나 소소 펜토면도 텐데스 컴퓨터와이나 아무니 메잠보 메창보 아니 전주센터에 로데네 칼레 공야 증서로 소소 등에 가르치 채와이나 아니 차원으로 쟁이 남도 좀 아니 가서로 쟁이 남도 조단디 그게 랑지 내단지 하고 아니 그 낭네 마주니지 죽자 좀 뭐지 하고 뒤뭐 안에 안 소소 있으면 출라지기 독답도 하고 내리 지와이나 동에 상말로 내려랑진다 이거로 진짜 이게요 추 지나게 요다
So then no. So then basically in short then in order to generate these good qualities of mind, so to say, or bodhicitta or good heart, so that doesn't come about by merely doing prayers. So we need action, we need a kind of mental activity, and then we abandon the bad states of mind, and then we try to abandon the self-cherishing attitude, because we see the self-cherishing attitude, we can reflect upon the different side effects and different faults of self-cherishing attitude, that it creates only problems. And that also, if you have this self-cherishing attitude, as long as you have this self-cherishing attitude, how will ever bodhicitta come to a result state of mind? You will never be able to generate bodhicitta, because the course is not being created as long as you have the self-cherishing attitude. So that's why it's important to counteract this self-cherishing attitude and exchange it for cherishing others. And the different texts you can read in the different Buddhist texts about the 7 cause and effect methods, or exchanging self for other methods, where it talks about how to generate these good qualities of mind and how to exchange the bad mind for the good good one, so to say, and then you will generate a kind of kindness towards self and others, just the things we're striving for. And then also the kindness of others, yeah, we see in our life, everything in livelihood is clothing, food, everything depends upon the kindness of others. Then also, if you take rebirth, again, we have to take a body, and also that depends on the kindness of others. So the other sentient beings are so extremely kind. So now it's time to also reflect upon that and to work for their benefit, because we are just one, and all other sentient beings are limitless beyond imagination. So all these mother sentient beings, yeah, they also need a form of temporary and ultimate happiness. So we should also understand that the mind of enlightenment is extremely vast and profound. So also we should examine this mind and study this mind also in a vast and profound way in order to generate that state of mind yourself. Then with these forms of correct views, so to say, yeah, of this kind of mental training, we will be able to eliminate aversion and attachment, and then we will accomplish temporary and ultimate happiness for self and others. And in order to do that, it's very important to know what is the result, what are the causes, how are these things be generated, what is the nature of the mind. Those kind of things are extremely important to examine, because everything depends on causes and conditions. It's in the nature of depending origination, so to say. So then if we, these contaminated aggregates we have right now, yeah, which is in the nature of suffering, we should also know how that came about and what kind of feeling we experience if we experience suffering. What is the nature of that feeling, although we wish for happiness. And then we should also know and examine the different states of mind, yeah, especially like ignorance, where we talked about. What is the object of apprehension of ignorance, and what is the object of apprehension of selflessness? And then see that the two minds, the two objects of apprehension are exactly the opposites. So with wisdom you can eliminate the ignorance of grasping at a self. So by creating the correct causes, the correct results will come about. But you have to put effort from your own side, you have to put things into practice, so to say. For example, if there's a doctor and the doctor has examined the sickness very well and then gives you the best medicine, if you don't take the medicine, then still it will not cure the sickness. So that's why we should put things into practice and try to habituate your mind again and again to the different stages, and then we automatically will generate qualities like being honest, a good heart, and eventually even be able to generate a bodhicitta. So then also by these correct forms of practice and behavior, we will actually be able to eliminate the mistaken mind and to strive for more and more happiness for self and others. Then any other questions?
Can Khadro-la talk a little bit about longer retreats? Like there's these 3-year retreats, why people do them, and with what type of motivation you should aspire for something like that, and if there's other methods that are equally beneficial. So something else than 3-year retreat, if there's other methods as well.
No. So then what we called the Great Retreat is basically meant to have an approximation, to come close to the deity. Sometimes they translate as a Great Retreat as a Great Approximation Retreat. So that is in order to come close to the deity. So in order to do that, basically you need a very stable form of bodhicitta and emptiness without really a generation of the realization of bodhicitta and emptiness, then a great retreat still, the question can be asked of the benefit of it.
이나양 따지 가르쳐 동반인다 전주선 쉬어지 그때 야고즈 마시와이나 수수은 전에 군주선 째지 로메바 이체여바다 대바여바다 다지 뭉데르저라다 레들지 이나양 수수지 스미 당연히 대바 이체여바지네 양지 다 대다 대지 산진 의이 제야다 산진 두시 자야지 의이 전지 님바당네 저바치와이나 손은다 자치무 쉬사 그래스 자자지 동에 내가 제단조디 동에 무엇이야 동에 뭐 마셔가 있는 백가를 거울에 챙기도스 님바 대야서라 있나 그래서나 님바 년轻당와 있는다 롭존 치와 있는다 되네 지다 손은 미직 잡만다 이러와스 아니 참 미직 잡만다 고미야 이러와스 항달 당지의 진진 니라 만데와 있나 또 제일 말했어 내 자와지 지와 있나 되네 뭐네 또 제일 그랬어 디 내다디 롭존 치야를 통고 튼진티도 고그로 왔어.
So then you need those particular courses, yeah, for a great retreat. So although you don't have the realization of bodhicitta and emptiness, so to say, but if you have great faith, yeah, you have a good understanding of the Buddha Dharma, and you have great faith in that actually the deity is the real Buddha, it's really out there, or you visualize yourself as in that aspect, then of course, then there will be great benefit, yeah, for the accumulation of merit, for example. Then of course, but the basis all comes down to really recognizing suffering well by the power of examining the different types of suffering. If you do that, then study or retreats, then both of those practices can be of great benefit. So then the retreats will be mainly meant in order to abandon the apprehension of a self and the abandonment of the self-cherishing attitude. If you were able to do those aspects, yeah, if you're able to abandon those negative states of mind, then of course there's great benefit.
소소소 년제 다원당 람림 공원에서 리드나라 탑시 역시 람림 거래레스 람림마 공네 sabject 지금 야고 소소 유라 삼단 공바이나 텐데스는 핀도 용그레스 텐데 또 어지그레스 년제 다양 전주선 동번이 천년 지나는 거 의지 다들이 말이 마치와이나 가꾸지 니니 주요한다 지 공시야 가꾸지 말이스 이제 초래 저라서 내가 쉬어.
So then, yeah, it is true, of course, for retreat if you have the realizations, but if you enter a great retreat, then basically it's maybe very important and even more important to meditate and practice the Lamrim. Because if you put a lot of efforts in the Lamrim direction, then for sure it will bring great benefits. If you do a great retreat on a deity and without really knowing much about bodhicitta and emptiness, then the retreat can also just be a waste of time.
그래서 가시 완전히 대야인 로슨 조선 대차인 지라도 다시 쉬지. 대신에 최신에 양 방은 제신에 방은 제는 오늘 단위 로슨 조선의 거네. 뭐지? 이제 지와이나 칼리 다시 뭐래. 이나양 당도 로슨 조선 마대제라 자샤샤가 띵무여와 내가 로슨 조선 대자냐 내가 얘는 같은 로슨 조선 대. 근데 이제 긴거도 요거도 내가 요거도 아니 지주이게 오늘 전에 메달랑진 동해랑진도 카톡카톡 투용이든 안 쓰는 그게 이 약주레스.
So then basically, yeah, some people have done the long retreats, yeah, 3 years, 3 months, etc. Then some people, they have done it, but the mind didn't change. Yeah? So then basically there was a waste of time, because then if they still have the same 3 poisons of aversion, attachment and ignorance at the same level as was before, then of course there was no great benefit in having done that great retreat. Then maybe it was even better to help poor people or to help the elderly with the correct motivation.
맞아, 당분이 뭐부지지 참대야 거라 너선 주는 대야다 참대야 거라 당분이 타지에 삼물 기가야 저라 된다. 야면은 소소 누가 미세지 내야 저라 된다. 야면은 미세지 거야 저라 야면 미세 통야 저라 딘지 저와 지금 되기도 왔어. 주변에 통야 같이 지가 여와이나 소소 룽파 아니 쌤출 나온 자만도 샤 가지고 와주셔 소소지 직 차서 진도 소소소 보고 쉬어제 진도 쉬우리 그래서 내가 좋아하고 쉬우리 지지지라고 나지 항상 나 단어랑 제게지 지라서 저렇게 라기도 그래서 이제 오늘은 랑도네 맛이 무슨 룸이자 출 가지고 거야 뭐 가지고 차는 거 누구 칸 뭐가 많으니 나는 차는 내가 남이라고 딱 남이라고 나는 저 도시 무슨 제대로 지하에 지인제 손들이 비슷한 손들이 되는 것을 남아야고 그래서 남주도 지장 지내지 말아와 있나 저 도시 손으로만 로 디센주라 잘 디 스스로는 딱이 도움도 스스 시락 되지 안 스스로 가서 잘하지 그래도 스스 딱이지 가만 좋아해 스스 딱이지 계속적으로 뭐고도 그래지도 그렇지 지금은 랑스스스 침대 나이스 스스스 준 근데 지금이야 아니 그래 들이 지와이나 또지 나 남도 마고 주사를 깨는 거 주사 장상 나가는 장상 너가 같이 있는 찍찍찍대 되는 스스로 거울에 찍는 게 남면 나사이 부사 찍히는 거 사실들이요 마시가 말아
So then, yeah, the retreats, of course, people also who do retreats, they have a lot of expectations. They think they will come somewhere after a few retreats. So also these kind of expectations, they never really met. Yeah? They never see those results coming about. So then people generally become weight diseases and become very, say, with aversion, become angry even at the different aspects of the retreats. So then there are also not really much benefits. So that all comes by the kind of ignorance of not really knowing what to abandon and what to put into practice. Also in a similar way, if you have a related to the deity like a Buddha, for example, then of course you can have different aspirations for that particular deity, etc. But it's very important, first of all, to know and understand the Dharma well. So that's why it's very important to study and practice the Lamrim, to put the practice of the Lamrim in practice. So then we have the opportunity to receive teachings from Medicine Buddha Gompa, and by receiving these teachings, also you can read the different texts and commentaries on the Lamrim, put it into practice, and use wisdom with examining your mind, and then don't think that the results will not come about. They definitely will come. So then, if you examine your mind well in that way, and then you see you're doing something negative or something incorrect, then straight away hold it and say, hey, stop, and then be aware of it, and then try to change the mind by putting the antidotes. So in that way, then the Lamrim might be of great benefit.
추게 되는 아니 지금 전인지 디지 과지 뜻을 치즈라라 지내로 지나죠. 깨어도 깨어라 아니
So then, basically, yeah, what I say basically translated as what do you do to relax, yeah, so to say. Basically, then she says that to relax in order to actually examine the mind in a way that you look at the mind and how the mind actually reacts to the different objects of the senses, yeah. So the different objects of the eye sense power or the different objects of the ear, and then actually see how the mind actually engages in different interpretations towards those objects, and then also actually realize or think about that the mind basically by itself in its nature doesn't have to engage in those objects and can just abide in the nature of the mind itself. And that's actually more or less the thing to say about that period in life. Then basically for working short I feel extremely lazy and all the different I don't have much knowledge of the Buddha Dharma, and basically the only thing